This video is part of the Move On When Reading Application Support Series and will focus on entering the school-level literacy plan and completing all information for the assessment plan section. This video is in direct support of Arizona Revised Statute 15704, which states, each school district or charter school that provides instruction in kindergarten programs and grades 1 through 3 shall select and administer screening, ongoing diagnostic, and classroom-based instructional reading assessments. Arizona Revised Statute 15704 also requires that within 45 calendar days after the beginning of each school year, or within 45 calendar days after student enrollment occurs after the first day of school, every student who is enrolled in a kindergarten program or grade 1 in a public school in this state is screened for indicators of dyslexia. This assessment is met with the administration of an approved Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener. Within the assessment plan section of the literacy plan, you will first see pre-populated 2021 and 2022 statewide exam data for your third graders should you have serviced third grade in those years. This information will be pre-populated and is not editable. There was no spring statewide exam in 2020, therefore this field is left blank. The next several boxes are to report third grade promotion and retention data. All boxes must have an entry. If you did not service any third graders last year, enter 0 in all boxes. First, you will enter the number of third graders who did not meet the MOWR cut score on last year's statewide exam. This is before any exemptions were applied. This number is not correlated with any minimally proficient rating. Test coordinators have this information. Enter 0 if no students fell below the MOWR cut score or if not applicable. Next, enter the number of third graders retained due to MOWR. Third graders may be retained due to other educational reasons. Do not include that count in this field. Enter 0 if no students were retained due to MOWR or if not applicable. Lastly, of the total number of students who did not meet the MOWR cut score, please enter the number of students who were subsequently promoted to fourth grade due to one of the legislative good cause exemptions listed here. Should any additional information need to be shared with the MOWR team, such as a student who since withdrew or any other scenario applied, please type that in the text box provided. The number of students retained and promoted should equal the total number of students that did not meet the MOWR cut score in last year's spring statewide exam. Remember, none of this information correlates with minimally or partially proficient data and is only provided to test coordinators for each campus. You'll receive an error message for this section should you try to submit with information that doesn't meet this criteria. Next, scroll down to Universal Screening Tools. You will click the green Add Tool button to select the Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener tool that will be used with each K-3 grade level this school year. This information may be different upon grade level, as some tools vary from grade to grade. Be careful to ensure you are selecting appropriately. These tools, however, should remain consistent for each grade level throughout the school year. Only programs which meet legislative criteria will be pre-populated into the pull-down menu. During the 2021-2022 school year, all LEAs completed an additional action plan and worked with MOWR staff if an approved Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener was not currently in use. All K-3 schools in Arizona must adopt an approved Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener from the approved list by the 2022-2023 school year. Click Save and repeat this process for each grade level. The Arizona Department of Education has developed a list of approved vendors whose products meet the criteria of Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screeners to be used for kindergarten through third grade students 3 times a year. A Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener is a brief assessment that focuses on broad literacy skills and is administered to all students to determine which students are achieving as expected and which children are at risk. Dyslexia indicators are embedded into the universal screening process and simply provide educators with additional information on how to best support students, not diagnose. It is the responsibility of each K-3 school to assess all K-3 students, including those with a 504, IEP, English language learners, and those learning remotely. Next, scroll down to the Diagnostic Tools section. Here is where you will add information for all of the diagnostic tools used for K-3 students. Click the green Add Tool button to select the diagnostic tools in use this year. You will select the grade level, one or more components of literacy which will be assessed in the listed diagnostic tools, and then the corresponding diagnostic tool that provides targeted skill-specific data for those selected components of literacy. Not all diagnostic tools assess all components of literacy, so only select those that are applicable. Click Save and repeat this process for each grade level. Diagnostic tools are only administered to any K-3 student who is below grade level on the Universal Screener. These more in-depth assessments should be administered immediately following the Universal Screener to allow for immediate interventions. Once all diagnostic information has been entered for all grade levels, you'll report your progress monitoring schedule. Select the schedule of progress monitoring for those students not at benchmark and receiving Tier 2 interventions. Also report the progress monitoring frequency for those receiving Tier 3 interventions and those significantly at risk. Progress monitoring is a legislative requirement, and the option not currently being implemented should not be selected. Progress monitoring is a critical part of the Screen, Instruct, Monitor process. It will inform how Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions are working. Are students catching up as expected? Do I keep teaching the way I am? Or do I need to make a change to my instruction? It is recommended that progress monitoring happens more frequently as the level of risk increases. Quarterly or every 4 weeks is too long a time to decide whether an intervention is working. Progress monitoring should happen every few weeks or the length of an intervention cycle. Once all screening, diagnostic, and progress monitoring information has been entered, you will click Save My Work and Ready to Submit. If all information has been completed as necessary, you will receive a success notification for both actions, and the Assessment Plan tab at the top will now appear green. You may close your browser and return to the literacy plan at any time. All information completed to this point will remain saved. Or you may now move on to the Professional Development Plan portion of the literacy plan. For each component of the literacy plan, the Move On When Reading team has developed specific guidance. On the administrator's page of the Move On When Reading website, you can expand the blue bar for assessment. Here you will find information on the purposes of different assessments, the Universal Literacy and Dyslexia Screener Guidance and Approved List document, and special Universal Screener considerations for our English learners. Continue watching the Move On When Reading application support series for guidance on each step of both the literacy plan and literacy assessment data submission process. As always, please contact Move On When Reading with any further questions.